I'm Carla Murray. I started Peninsula in 1996 for Year 7 and I finished at the end of Year 12 in 2001.
I'm Stephanie Hille, started in Year 6 in 1995 and I'm the class of 2001.
My name's Grace McGuinness. I started in Year 11 in 98 and finished in 99.
I'm John McConchie. I was head of the junior school from 1992 until 2004. I'm extremely proud of how it all eventuated and to see the number of girls here in this day and age.
I'm Brook Miskin, class of 67. First past student, I guess, to be on the board of the school. It means a lot to me to see my granddaughters here and enjoying themselves so much.
Co-education has been bandied around the Peninsula for years and it always received a bit of a knockback. So when Ray Hill came and we had a meeting or the board made the decision, there was obviously talk behind the scenes of going with co-education for a number of reasons, not the least of which was it was a modern form of education and society. So that sort of started the whole shooting match off with the board meeting. But it was interesting, it was exciting.
It basically arose from what I remember out of a necessity. In the 90s, the economics of this country were under big pressure. There was a recession. The parents of the school were under a great deal of pressure, not only to pay the fees, but to keep their businesses. And that was the thing that I think I'm pretty straightforward in remembering started the conversations about what we could do and where we should go. It takes a fair bit of logistic to actually, if we make the decision to get the girls to come in, we had uniforms to do, we had toilets, we had change rooms, we had staff, and all of that had to be taken into account, and it was all discussed at board level over several months. What were the winning arguments from the board's point of view? Well, Ray Hill was very much in favour, and that's important. He was a great principal / headmaster back in those days. The thing that probably got it over the line in the end was that we all decided that there were probably more pluses that could be got out of this decision than negatives, and the rest, I guess, is history.
As the head, I was very much at the centre of decisions that were made, and I worked in closely with Ray Hill and the management team and of course Phil Dole. Very early stage when we decided that we were going to form a kindergarten, and that sort of was going to be a way of bringing co-ed into the school. And we started it off, and the junior school staff, to their credit, got in behind it in the form of developing curriculums, and the Early Learning Centre staff under the direction of Helen Cameron and her teachers up there were just magnificent. In the space of 6 weeks, we had the kindergarten full, and we were very conscious throughout the school that we were going to get as much as we could, 50-50 girls and boys. And so that was the start of really co-education in the junior school. The parents said, don't worry about our girls, they'll handle anything. They've got brothers and they'll handle it. And so right they were. They just fitted in fantastically. So that was a go up there, and that was done a lot because of the staff. They were on song, and we all had come from a background of teaching and co-education from just about the whole crew of the junior school in those days. And so they were quite comfortable with it, and it was the Ray Hill and Carl Lewington and the management people just providing the facilities, but we relied very heavily on the ability of the staff and just how good they were. They were a crackerjack staff. In 1995, the girls who came across, a number of staff immediately brought their daughters across, which gave us, including the principal, it gave us great heart because we knew that we were all fair dinkum about the co-education. So the girls who came in, they then moved into year 7, and they all, I think 95% of them moved all the way through to year 12. So it was successful in that sense that it leached into the school very quickly, and of course other girls came in later on in the latter parts of the co-ed in the senior school.
What's it mean to me personally? Well, with my granddaughters here, I've got a grandson here too, but so we've got to balance a bit. 2 granddaughters love the place. What does it mean? I'm just terribly proud of the fact that we gave them the opportunity as females to take a part of the history of the place. To get something out of the academics of this place, of which we were very good. And it's not only that, it's the values that are taught here. Well, my contribution and how do I feel about it, and the decision that we made, sometimes you've got to get it right, and we did. Basically, terribly proud of the fact that we did.
So in 1995, halfway through the year, I was one of the first 10 girls to start at Peninsula, and I remember that first day walking into the classroom really clearly. We had our new uniforms, long grey skirt, white shirt, blue tie, blue blazer, all oversized obviously, and a bag, school bag, which had very little in it. So the uniforms were the equivalent of the boys. And there were 2 all boys classes that would remain all boys, and then we had a 3rd class where the 10 girls started, and everyone was in the classroom, and we walked in, and I remember walking in between the desks. It was a bit odd at the beginning. I think probably the boys were a bit more nervous than we were, but very quickly, especially our year 6 group and those around us, it became very normal very quickly. And then the next year in year 7, lots more girls came, and then girls were filling up the years below us as well.
Walking into a mostly male environment for the start of year 7 in 1996 was very daunting. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. I think starting year 7 is a big deal anyway, and when you're starting year 7 at an all-boys school, it's even more of a big deal. It wasn't the fully functioning co-educational school that Peninsula Grammar is today. I think when I started in year 7, there were around 20 girls to about 100 boys. So we really were in the minority, and we stuck out like a sore thumb. You know, in assemblies and in the tuck shop line, at house events, anywhere. And the school back then wasn't set up as it is today with the middle school, pre-senior school and senior school. So in the senior school, we were year 7 to year 12. So when we had our weekly or fortnightly assemblies, you know, there were literally hundreds of boys packed into the Ansett Hall and just us, you know. There were some challenges that came along with that. Everybody knew who you were, which can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing. There was no blending in with the crowd. You couldn't hide if you wanted to. You know, so there were some challenges like that. Some minor challenges as well, like the facilities. You know, we had classes in all areas of the school, but we didn't have bathrooms in all those areas of the school. Those things sort of progressed as we went through the school. And I think just being the minority with so many boys around us, we had to develop a really thick skin quite quickly. We were great friends with all our male peers. You know, most of our friends were boys because there were so many of them. but they treated us like one of them, which was great, but it means we weren't spared either. So we had to actually, get used to their humour and their jokes and their friendly fire. And I think through that, we developed a lot of resilience, a lot of confidence, and we sort of just got on with it. It had been an all-boys school for probably 35 years, and I think just putting girls in there doesn't mean that that culture of an all-boys school or the behaviours of an all-boys school immediately change. It did shift through our time at the school, but it really was that all-boys feeling with just us in there. So we had to be resilient, we had to be confident, we had to sort of forge our own pathway and band together. But that's the interesting thing about it, is that being in an all-boys dominated environment, the thing that came out of that was the sisterhood. My best friends to this day are still the girls I started Year 7 with, including Steph and Grace's sister Sophie and others. We formed a really tight bond, and I think that was partly for survival, partly because we were all very similar girls. And we had to learn very quickly to be a very reliable, compassionate, trustworthy friend. You couldn't have a falling out and find someone else to go and play with. So we learnt the concept of sort of unconditional friendship very early on. We still have that today. So being in this male-dominated environment, we had lots of guy friends, but really what's come out of it for me is the beautiful sisterhood and those long-lasting friendships that I've got with my female peers right from the very beginning. So that's really special.
Yeah, look, it was really different for me because I didn't start in Year 7, but in one way it didn't feel like a transition. One of the really good things about being on the Peninsula is it's such a community. So these are the families that we grew up with, Carla's brother, Steph's brother. We all knew each other. We were all catching the bus together. We'd all been going to parties together. So really we were just walking into our family groups and our friendships that, we'd spent 3 hours on a bus every day with for the last 4 years. So there wasn't much mystery. But I do remember the first day they shut the doors for the VCE block, and there must have been 2 year levels, so 200 boys out the front and 8 girls. And I think Jane and I were a little early, and walking down that breezeway and just seeing this sea of boys. And as Carla said, you couldn't hide. You really stuck out. We knew all these guys, but it did feel super strange. There is one thing that you don't see of your friends until you go to school with them, and that's assembly. And I remember really strongly, we went down and we sat in our seats and we're looking around and we're like, oh my God, this is so weird. And we settled into our seats and they opened with a hymn. And we'd been going to the girls' school where, everyone sort of could keep a tune and it was pretty nice, it sounded nice. And the boys opened into this deep wobble and we looked over, I'm like, I've never heard them sing. This was unexpected. And Jane and I just started crying with laughter. We couldn't sing, and it must have been the nerves, but we caught each other's eye and we just laughed through that whole assembly, and that must have relaxed us because the rest of the time was fantastic. And similarly to the girls, the facilities weren't there yet. The 8 of us had one staff toilet as our change room for sport, all sorts of things like that. But that was part of the fun. Being 8 amongst 2 year levels, we really got treated very specially as well. So yeah, we loved it.
And as Ray Hill tells it, he remembers Grace and Jane walking into his office and saying, "We are coming to the school," and he said, "But we don't have facilities for you." And they said, "It doesn't matter, we're coming anyway." Dad was an educator his whole life. He was, as a bit of background, an only child who went to a selective all-boys school, and after uni he taught at the same selective single-sex schools in Sydney and Queensland, in Brisbane. Through his observations of that environment, he came to form a view and value a broader education that took in extracurricular and the social education that came with co-education. And so when he came to Peninsula as headmaster, there was this opportunity opened up to sort of bring the elements of the education that he valued to the Peninsula School. You know, they were doing forums and meetings with the school community and parents, and he remembers, you know, broad support mostly, but the thing that he remembers strongly is the support of the teaching staff, and he credits a lot of the success of the transition to co-education to that broad support from the school staff.
Head of school was incredible, actually. You look back now and it's that whole what you see is what you can be, and I think just having a girl sitting on the stage and I guess being interviewed and going to our functions and doing all of that, you really felt like a lot of the girls under us could see we really were part of this school now, because before us it only was head boy. And I think it sort of sealed that, all right, we've reached the Year 12 level now and we are in leadership positions. Everyone was really pleased to have us, and yeah, look, it was a really great role. And I actually asked Brook if I could say for ducks that the beauty of it was beating all the boys, and he said yes, so that'll do. It was nice to show that the girls can do it.
So having children attend the school has given me that great vantage point to see exactly how the school has changed and progressed since my time there, and there has been some really positive changes and advancements. We know the school has incredible buildings, the grounds are fantastic, the opportunities for all students in their academics, in their co-curricula, what the school provides in terms of its programs, the pathways that they help for the VCE students, and beyond, the wellbeing programs, respectful relationships, international camps, all these sorts of wonderful things, opportunities that our students have, or our children have, coming to Peninsula today. And we certainly felt as though we had lots of opportunities, but when I think about the opportunities my children have, they're just really incredibly lucky. I think sport has been a really big strength of improvement for the school, particularly for the girls. So the girls have so much choice in their sport now. So every sport that the boys can do, the girls can do too. So they can play football, they can play touch football, cricket, golf, sailing, anything. And they've got opportunities for dance and aerobics, and so just the sheer choice of sport that the girls have is really, really fantastic. And then on top of that, we've got first class facilities here. We have expert coaches, many of them who have been professionals in their career, and the opportunities for tours and tournaments and all of that. And I think for all students, but again particularly for those girls, they can take their sport as far as they want to. You know, they have everything at their fingertips to help them make that part of their career, or take it as far as they want to. And it's really wonderful to see so many female students at Peninsula, and past female students, who have really taken their sport to the next level. So that's really different to our experience with sport at school. So we couldn't join the AGS initially, but we still had to do our fair share of sport, which we were happy to do because we were very sporty girls. So we had a Peninsula team and we joined the local netball competition in Mornington, and we did the same with basketball. We just entered a midweek competition. For netball, predominantly our coach was Sally Thompson, and for basketball it was mainly Wilbur, Steve Wiltshire. And we had so much fun with our sport. We really loved it, and a lot of our probably fond memories is about playing sport together. But there just wasn't really those opportunities to take that much further. So I think the girls today are incredibly lucky that they do have those opportunities to take their sport as far as they can. So Peninsula today is just incredibly invested in its students, in their academics, in their co-curricular opportunities, and I think that's a really wonderful advancement. We certainly had those opportunities and felt those privileges, but I think the students today are incredibly lucky. One thing that I don't think has changed changed, which is really important to me, is, the school's motto hasn't changed. The vision for the school, the values of the school haven't changed, and I think that's really important. The values that were instilled in myself as a student are now being instilled in my own children here. So whilst there is progression and advancements, those core part that makes Peninsula such a special place has remained the same.
Do you know, personally, I feel that by the time Grace and Christina and Jane and Caroline's year was in year 12 and there were girls in every year level, it felt the girls were already thriving, like it just worked from the beginning. And I remember sort of hearing or understanding at the time that we didn't fit the often perceived view of a private school girl. The girls who came here, the girls who asked to come here, they were grounded and capable, and even if they were quiet, they were determined. I can't say whether that set the tone because it's been a long time, it's been 20 years, but it was certainly a place where girls wanted to come early on and be part of this change at the Peninsula School. It was everyone who came brought something new, and we were so excited when a new girl was starting. We're like, what are they going to be about? And we're all we loved welcoming new girls in, and each girl had this strength and this difference, and it's the sisterhood that Carla spoke to. And to have friendships that still continue to this day. We've got a WhatsApp group of about 10 girls that are schoolgirls,
and we were creating that culture. It didn't exist before, so that was the opportunity to bring people in and make it our own, I think.
That's right. And I don't know how I don't think we realised we were doing it at the time, but we just were. And it's so nice to see that the school is thriving and still, and that feeling is still around.
It's a similar feel.
Yeah. One of the unsung heroes of the Peninsula School is Bob the bus driver. He was everywhere. He would have driven thousands of children over many years.
So annoying.
Like to Puckapunyal for cadets, or to school camp, or Canberra, or excursions, or all the sports. And yeah, he would play our tapes of music that we thought was awesome. He probably thought it was terrible. And I remember there was this word about town that he would throw a tape out the window if it had swear words, but my home recorded tape of Offspring Smash survived every time. But just that school bus, the school owned a bus, Bob was the bus driver, and he was just such a mainstay in my memories.
I think that goes for a lot of characters in the school. I mean, you came, I was new to the school, sort of, we knew everyone, but you'd hear about Breno and you'd hear about Wilbur and
Winesy.
Everyone had their little place as characters in this school, and I think a really big part of it was the staffing. I think of the teachers we went through with, and they're still impacting our lives. We'll see Sally and Keith down the road, we'll see Deb, and they'll stop and say hi, and I think it was a staff full of characters.
And we just involved ourselves with everything. So many memories of Glen Maggie Camp, of the productions, of being part of the Pen magazine with Lisa Mitchell, with going to theatre trips to the city with Peter Cole and Juliet Barber. Like, we really just threw ourselves in and tried to just do everything we possibly could. And that's where the memories come from. It's the connections that you make, it's those experiences that you have. That's what we think so fondly of to this day, and coming back here. It's those things that you take with you. Jumping on the back of a bus story, I've got a bus story as well. I remember the first time I had to catch the bus to school in year 7. So I had all my bags on and walked down to the end of the street, and I was waiting there. I was on time, I was early, and I was waiting, and a bus drove past, and I was looking through the windows and I thought, they look like Peninsula boys, but the bus kept going. I thought, maybe they'll just stop and come back. No, kept going. I had to walk to school that day. Luckily a neighbour found me and drove me after about a kilometre or two. Apparently the boys on the bus were saying to the bus driver, "We need to stop and pick up that girl." And the bus driver was saying, "You don't have girls at your school. I'm not stopping to pick up that girl." And they go, "No, we really do. We've got girls at Peninsula now." And that he didn't believe them. And so once my neighbour dropped me off to school, I had to go to Mr. Cross's office and sign the late book and explain why I was late. And I said, the bus didn't stop for me. So they had to have a conversation with the bus drivers to tell them that there are in fact girls at Peninsula now. So if they're at the stops, you do need to pick them up and take them to school.
The feeling amongst the girls back in 1998 for me was a really grounded set of people, but I think that was actually school-wide, and I've always tried to think why to me did Peninsula feel that way before I even came here. And I think it's something about the Mornington Peninsula. The people who live down here live here not for its access to all the facilities, but for the community lifestyle. And I think that brings with it a lot of small business. The community is made up of trades, hospitality, small business. It's a really different type of family that you're walking into to a lot of the city schools, I think. And I think that gave us a really great background. And I think of it now as a lot of us have returned to the Peninsula as adults, and maybe when we graduated we'd use our dad's accountant and our mum's golf teacher or whatever, but there's this bit you get to and you realise you're 40 and it's your network that you're using, and it's our friends who are our electrician and our accountant and our obstetrician. And I think what's really important to me is a lot of people leave the Peninsula and go off and do things overseas or do things in Melbourne, and everywhere you go you see someone from the Peninsula, and when you do, they're the people you use. This home comes with you and this network comes with you, and when you return home, particularly if you're in business, that's your network. I spend every week on the phone to the kids that I went to school with, who are the mortgage broker who are referring me clients, who are the property lawyer who knows the bit that I don't know about whatever file I'm doing, and I'm still on the phone to them. And I think for the kids coming through, particularly those who are interested in staying on the Peninsula, these are your community. They're going to be the people who you raise your kids with, who you day to day spend your working life with, and you're just really lucky. It's just such a great network that comes out of this school.
And hopefully you leave with an open mind and the confidence and the experience to know that falling doesn't mean failing.
So I would say to the girls who are currently at Peninsula Grammar to be brave, to take every opportunity you can that's available to you, to use your voice and to be confident. School is such a special time, and sometimes it's not until you've finished school and you're reflecting that you realise how special it actually was. You have wonderful teachers here who want the very best for you. You've got a school that's providing limitless amount of opportunities and options and choices for you to take with you past schooling. So make the most of your teachers, make the most of your peers and your friendships, the programs and opportunities that the school provides for you. You're very fortunate. And also remember that you're part of something bigger. It was a very small legacy that we began, but it's turned into an amazing force. So I would say to the girls, carry on that legacy, be brave, be confident, use your voice. And, I think being a part of the school's history, which we are, and the girls here today are as well, that's something that I'm really proud of, and I think that they should be really proud of as well.